All right, hello everyone. Welcome back to another year of Giada, Fonts of Hope. I hope everyone has been enjoying their decks. If there's any cool new tech you guys have been playing with or you found out, let me know in the comments below, please. But this video should not be as long as the last one, hopefully. Some of the cards are the same. I've swapped out a few. You'll notice if you're looking at the deck profile on the Moxfield link, and if you compare it to last year, you'll notice that the price has significantly gone down. I mentioned in the last video that the deck tends to win a lot. It happened to have kept winning a lot, so much so to where I kind of felt bad for my table. So I've brought the power level down a little bit. Price-wise, like, it's gone down, but the power is only slightly gone down. I've built it a lot more towards mono white devotion with like Nyx Lotus, building more into the Nykthos. And then there's been a couple new toys we've picked up this year as well. So I think I'll keep the format the same and we'll go through the lands first. Changes to the land count. I believe I'm at 38 lands as opposed to 37 last year. Going through the non-basics, so I'm only running 12 non-basics, with the rest just being various. I like running planes from all the different sets. I will say the favorite that's come out is like Edge of Eternity's lands are honestly just so insane. They look really nice. But the Infinity like Galaxy foils look just beautiful. The goal is to get some oil slick lands this year, I think. But like I mentioned in my last video, I do play against a Phylath deck, and that Phylath deck runs Flash Fires, which wipes out all the planes. So it is kind of risk running as many planes as I do in my pod, which if you haven't seen the last video, my pods are bigger than 4 players. We run a table of 8 people, and yeah, when he does flash fires, he definitely gets some heat brought back his way. But going into the non-basics, the only new additions we have this year is Adagia. We've got Abandoned Air Temple, and I don't know if Monumental Henge was in the last one, but that one has come up a lot this year. But I'll just go through them quickly. So Abandoned Air Temple is one of the avatar lands. It comes in tapped unless you have a basic, which is pretty easy to do for me. And then you just pay 4 mana and put a 1/1 counter on each of your creatures, which is pretty good because this deck has a hard time. Like when you get a good board state, you really need a good push to just get that win in. And this is really nice being a part of a land. Monumental Henge I've actually used a lot this year, using the 4 mana ability to look at the top 5 and reveal a historic card. Has honestly been really nice this year. And another one I finally got to use Ondu Inversion this year. Felt actually kind of nice to pair that with Flawless Maneuver and just take a game. And then you've got Eiganjo and Razorgrass Ambush, which is pretty much the same card, because after turn 2, Eiganjo is only 2 mana to channel for 4 damage. And then we've got, I mean, basically auto includes Path of Ancestry, which is kind of slow at this point. I don't know if I want to keep it in just for, like, the scries are nice, but I don't know. I really want my lands coming in straight up. And then Nykthos is like the keystone of the deck. I have all 5 mono colors, and all of them I run Nykthos. Like you have to run Nykthos in a monocolor deck. Like there's just too much crazy shit going on with every other deck, and with the sets coming out now, like you really need just really explosive turns. And that's what Nykthos allows you to do. And I've built around it in a way where basically if my pod leaves my table alone, and if I can make like 5 devotion, I'm ramping way more than a lot of other people. I just would not run a monocolor without Nykthos at this point. It is a little expensive. Like I said, I've got 5 decks and all of them have Nykthos in it, just because it's like I just noticed a difference. I can't play without it anymore. Secluded Step is the last one. It's just a channel land. I just need as much card draw as I can in this deck. Emergence Zone, Urza's Cave, and Temple of the False Gods are the only 3 colorless lands I run. Temple, I've had some issues opening it with only like 2 lands sometimes, which can be really annoying. Urza's Cave is just an extra way to get to Nykthos or Adagia. And then Emergence Zone is just, you can just chill and then wait to determine what to do. This deck runs a lot of sorceries, so turning any of them into instants is pretty brutal for the pod. And then the final land, Adagia. This land is kind of insane. Not even kind of insane. This this land is like up there with Nykthos. It just doesn't make the mana. So what it does is you can pay 4 and create a token that's a copy of an artifact or an enchantment you control, except it's legendary. So if we're looking at my artifacts and enchantments, just immediately like Luminarch Ascension, having 2 of those is pretty much good game. Citadel Siege, having 2 of those is pretty hard to get around. Double Starlight Spectacular is pretty much good game as well. But I will, I'll go through those. Going through the artifacts, I mean, like, I don't really copy the artifacts too much. Maybe Pearl Medallion. Siriemist, kind of cool because then you can just sack it to the legend rule, and then having a second. Oh, I know you can't do it on Nixon. Never mind. Mostly just the enchantments I've done. I think I've done it 2 times. One was on the Luminarch Ascension, and then one was on the Starlight Spectacular, and it was definitely spectacular. I will say that. So that is just the lands. 38 lands with Giada leaves us with 61 non-land slots, which I really like in my brain because being a Yu-Gi-Oh player, you're either playing with 40 or 60 cards. So being able to build a 60 card deck and then have like a 1 pet slot just seems to make my brain happy. So let's get into the creatures next because there should be 29 of them. I've broken them up into angel and non-angels. We'll go through the angels first. So the newest one is going to be Lightstall Inquisitor. A 2/1 vigilance. When it enters, each opponent exiles a card from their hand. And if you can do this like 2-3 times in a row, it's actually pretty backbreaking for the table. And then you can see everything they're playing. It also pairs really well with Avatar's Avatar's Wrath. Next one, Youthful Valkyrie. Pretty much auto-include. Super cheap angel that comes down and just gets bigger as you play more angels. That's also the same. Righteous Valkyrie is one of the best angels out there. That should be the same as last year. Wojek Investigator. This guy's nice because he's a 2/4. He also flies and has vigilance, which is, if you didn't understand in my last video, flying and vigilance together, being unblockable to half the table while being able to block the other half is perfect for this deck because you become an arch enemy quite fast. If no one is flying, everyone is out to get you. But I don't know, like I found playing like a bunch of different tribal styles, like anything that flies is pretty similar, like angels, birds, dragons, fairies, like all of them are just like flying board states essentially. So if you don't have a way to deal with flying, you gotta have a way to deal with flying. Like there's no ifs, and or buts about it. Angel of Vitality is also very good. This is the one angel that you probably see in my deck that you don't see in others. My pod allows wish effects. So Legion Angel, when it enters, allows you to go grab another copy of Legion Angel from outside the game. I limit it to just 3 outside of the game. If your pod's okay with it, you can go for more. But it's basically just like an instant army if you have the mana. Otherwise, he has no real reason being in the deck. It's only just for my pod. We like wish rules. So, Thraben Watcher, pretty much auto-include, giving everything else vigilance. Exemplar of Light. I think this is a new one this year. This one is very fantastic. Whenever you gain life, you put a counter on it, a 1/1 counter. And whenever you put a 1/1 counter on it each turn, it draws a card. So when it enters the battlefield and picks up its counter, you immediately get to draw a card off of it, which is nice. There's not a lot of angels that do that. Speaking of, Firemane Commando is one of the only angels that will draw you a card. The downside, though, is it will give your opponents a card, kind of in return for not attacking you early, which is almost like a curse effect. It's actually kind of brutal how far people will go out of their way to send 2 creatures at someone else to draw a card. It's pretty funny, actually. Moving on to one of the best angels, Norn's Choirmaster. This card is definitely worth the money. It's like 20 bucks for just the base version of it, but it's a flying first strike. When your commander enters or attacks, you proliferate, which is just a finisher in this deck, because if it comes down as like your 4th angel, even just having 2 or 3 angels with a counter on them is just going to start getting out of hand very fast. Just the rate at which you can cast your commander, recast it, let it die, let it attack right away. Very good in this deck. I wouldn't play this deck without Choirmaster at this point. Baneslayer is just kind of for some flavor. We have a lot of dragon pods, like a lot of dragon pods. Some people are even like starting to play Karthus just to like metagame the other dragons, which is kind of funny. But he's just here just for as like a pet card, basically. Starfield Shepherd. This is a new one this year. You can warp it in for 2 and then go and get a plains or a 1 mana value creature, which usually is Lightstall Inquisitor. Before it used to be Esper Sentinel, but I've cut out Esper Sentinel just to reuse the power of the deck a little bit. Herald of War. This one always dies right away. People are terrified of this card. If it comes in with 2 counters and you're getting a 2 cost on your angels, and then you start proliferating it with Choirmaster, you can just start playing all your angels for like 1-2 mana. It's awesome. Another one in this slot, Windshaper Planetar, or Planeteer. I don't know how you pronounce that. I just say Windshaper, but it's a flash 4/4, and when it enters during the declare attacker step, you can reselect which creatures or which players the creatures are attacking, which is just so hilarious. People are starting to notice if I have the mana up. Yeah, it's not the best to attack me. You can kind of bluff it too if you have Emergent Zone out. You can just kind of bluff that you have this. Another powerhouse here, we've got Lyra Dawnbringer. Just gives a 1/1 bump and lifelink to the angels. I don't play too much into the life gain. Like, I don't really run Felidar Sovereign or like Test of Endurance or anything. It's just for the pod. There's a lot of burn up effects, a lot of mono red decks as well. So the life gain I just found I needed some more of. Coming into our 6 drops now, we've got Sunblast Angel. This one I've added since I'm running the Citadel Siege now, where I can just let the siege go around a full cycle, all 8 players, tap 1 thing each, and then just play this next turn and just have like selected removal essentially. If they all attack too, then you know it's just a free board wipe. But that's one I've actually really liked a lot more. I don't like paying 6 mana for it, but yeah, it's put in work. Angelic Guardian is another one I've added this year. This one's really crazy. Just whenever 1 or more creatures you control attack, they gain indestructible. So usually if I go to combat right away and I'm leaving my mana up, you have to respond to the attack triggers because I'm probably showing that I'm going to board wipe right after combat. So this is a very like must kill card. Valkyrie Harbinger as well is just one that each end step, if I gain 4 life, so if someone attacks me and I block, I'm making another angel and my army is just going to keep growing. This whole deck it's fairly obvious what you're doing. Like, you're going to see, your opponents are going to see your board state just start growing exponentially, and they're going to have to make the decision. So that's where I've nerfed the deck a lot, so that way my pod can see like what's about to happen, and then they have about a turn to respond. If not, then yeah, angels are gonna come in and pray to their faces, and they're gonna die. Steel Seraph is a very flexible card in the deck. You can spend 6 mana, or you can just spend 3 mana to cast it, and its stats are halved. But you are able to give Vigilance or Flying or Lifelink to your creatures, and usually I'm picking Vigilance just because I love Flying Vigilance. And then we've got Platinum Angel, which I have a hard time cutting from the deck. It's just like, I consider it the veggies of the deck. If you can get it out, you're not dying. I think I've been to like -70 life before, and still won the game. So it's pretty good in casual. And then the final big one we've got is a Chroma, Vision of Ixidor, just as another way to just bump each of my creatures in combat. Like, this deck is more aggressive this year compared to last year, where I'm running less angels, but they're more potent, if that makes sense. You'll notice I'm not running Bruna and Gisela anymore. As awesome as those cards are, every time I flip it, I find it just dies. So it's just not worth having it out there. So I just save the slots for other areas and just reduce the curve of the deck. But these are all my angels. Moving on to the non-angels, Weathered Wayfarer is just insane. Like I said, I just go and grab my Nykthos, I go and grab my Adegia, anything you need, as long as you're just not starting first. New card I added this year is Deep Gnome Terramancer, just to help me ramp more. This deck has more of an emphasis on just mana, just getting as much mana as I can this year. And then his kind of twin brother, I run Archivist of Ogma. My pod is more casual with tutoring, but there's a lot of landfall decks. So almost everyone in my pod's running Terramorphic Expanse, Evolving Wilds, like just basically ramp tutors. And just being able to start drawing cards off of it is really nice. This is kind of my Esper Sentinel replacement. A card that does not power down my deck this year, however, though, is Grand Abolisher. I don't feel bad playing this because there's so many brutal instants that my pod runs. If it gets to my turn, I don't want any of that shit happening. If it gets to my turn, I want to win the game, is how it goes. And this really helps with that. I don't have Voice of Victory. If I did, I probably would add it. Yeah. Moving on now, we've got Mangara the Diplomat. This is usually what I'm searching off of the Siriema, just for a card draw. Honestly, that's really about it. My opponent's attacking me is not really anything I'm too worried about. Now my big 2 devotion cards here, I've got Phyrexian Vindicator, which is just 4 pips, which is just so nice with Nykthos. The downside to this card, however, because it prevents damage to itself and then can redirect it, I find my pod really likes to copy this guy. So if there's like 2 or 3 of these things out, it actually starts becoming a bit of a nightmare. But the 4 pips is so hard to replace. I have to run it. And with the new guy, with 5 pips, we've got Anti-Venom. I will say on cast, being able to return a creature from grave has actually been very, very nice. Being able to just bring back Plat Angel or like literally anything here. For recursion, I really just run Savine's Reclamation. I know there's, what is it called? Like Emiria Shepherd, where if you play a Plains, you can recur something. I might have to look into that one. And then the final creature, I run Aerial Extortionist. This card is a very, very awesome mid-range card for about $1, and it pairs very nicely with Avatar's Wrath. You just airbend their whole board, and then every time they go to cast their spell now from airbending it, you just draw off of all of it. So you just board wipe, and then all of a sudden you're sitting there with 25 cards in hand. It's, yeah, it's really, really busted. Well, not busted, but if you build around it, it seems like it's busted. So that is all the creatures. It should be about 29. Let's move on to our permanents now. So let's start with our artifacts. I believe there's 10. Yeah, there's about 10. So we run Soul Ring. There's no... The only discussion I have with this card is that there shouldn't be a Soul Ring, I feel like. I know everyone says it's fine, but when you just see one person open it, it's such a difference. Like, obviously, like in a bigger pod, like you've got 7 people kind of giving you the side eye now. I usually hold my Soul Ring to like turn 2 or 3 at this point. But yeah, like if you can use it, Soul Ring is so good. I can't imagine how good it is in a 4-player pod, like what everyone else plays. But yeah, I don't think there should be Soul Ring in this format, if I'm being honest. Expedition Map is just a second copy of Nykthos. Tome of Legends is a very good draw engine in this deck. Every time your commander enters or attacks, you get to put a page counter on it, and you just pay 1 to draw a card and remove a page counter. You can start amassing page counters quite quickly. I find this card, I always don't have page counters on it because I'm just always able to just pay the 1, draw a card. This is like one of my like underrated cards of the year is Tome of Legends. Like if you've got partner commanders too, such a good draw engine. Like seriously, it's very good. And it's so cheap. It's like under $1. The Siriema. This is a new card from Edge of Eternities. It tutors for a legendary creature, which I don't have too many of them, but I have just enough to get what I need. Like I can either get Mangara for card draw. I can get Anti-Venom if I need to recur something. I can get Lyra Dawnbringer if I want some lifelink. And I can grab a Chroma if I want to kind of like push for some more game. And then you can also, when it gets to 7 on your crew, you can give all your other legendaries indestructible, which isn't the biggest deal in the world, but what you can do is pair it with a board wipe. You just play this, play your creatures, have them station it, and then you just board wipe and keep your legends alive, which is kind of nice. I've done that a few times. Warren Power Stone, basically the fair version of Soul Ring. Dousing Dagger is kind of unfair in this deck because you can just essentially turn 3, get a 3 mana land, and then just double your mana base, which is, you pair this with Nykthos and you're tapping for like 20 mana sometimes. Like it's amazing. Speaking of amazing, Nyx Lotus is also equally as amazing. Same with Pearl Medallion. Endless Atlas is starting to get kind of slow at this point, but we haven't had a better card draw. I mean, obviously Esper Sentinel would be better, but I just didn't want to increase the power level of the deck by that much again. And then the last artifact we have is just Marble Diamond. All right. So moving on to our enchantments. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I just run 6, but all of them are cards I would not cut. Citadel Siege. I'm always picking dragons. Beginning of comment on each opponent's turn, you tap a creature they control. And this gets really funny from when people start skipping steps and they go, okay, I'm going, and they don't say they're going to combat, and they just go, okay, I'm going to swing this at you, this at you. And then I go, hold on, you still have to declare you're going to go to combat. And then when they do, you now you can start tapping certain things. People get very salty at this though, surprisingly. If someone has 1 or 2 creatures or like a Voltron and you start tapping down their commander, you're gonna get some people that are out to get you. So just keep that in mind. But it's like a fairer version of blind obedience almost. And you can also use it as a politic tool and just be like, all right guys, I kind of want to gain some favor here, so what's a creature I can tap that you guys would actually be happy with? And you can kind of start getting some positive karma off of it. But obviously if someone wants to attack you, this card is going to be in their way. Speaking of attacking, Ghost Prison is kind of... I was about to cut it before the deck profile, but I didn't want to just change it up for no reason. But this card I'm definitely going to cut Because essentially any 3 mana angel acts as a ghost prison. Like no one's going to attack you turn 3 when you're the only one up with flying blocking. So this card I would cut for sure. But if you can get 2 copies of it with Adagia, it's quite funny to see people try and pay 4 mana to attack you and not really get very far, especially with the Citadel Siege out. You realize very quickly this deck likes to control the board state. And speaking of that, we run Luminarch Ascension. This is the best card in the deck. You can play this deck with no angels and run this card and still kill people with angels. Like I said, if you don't know what it does, at the end of each opponent's turn, if you did not lose life this turn, you put a counter on it. And as soon as you hit 4, you can start paying 2 mana, just put an angel on the battlefield each time. And in an 8-player pod, such as myself, I put this down turn 2, and if it survives, I have 8 counters or 7 counters on it. So now turn 3, I can just start going 2 mana angel, 2 mana angel, 2 mana angel, and you pair that. If you open this with Dousing Dagger, or just anything, if you have like 3 Tree City, by turn 4, you can just start killing people with angels. Like it can really start happening very fast. I don't build to have it happen fast, but if you want to, you definitely can. But you need Luminarch Ascension in this deck. Like, take away anything in this video, get Luminarch Ascension. I promise you. Monologue Tax is just like Ramp. Since I'm playing with 7 other opponents, 7 mana per turn cycle is absolutely fucked for 3 mana. I promise you. Now my 2 finishers, the new one I've added is Starlight Spectacular. This is an Unfinity card, and some people think it's not legal. It totally is. It doesn't have the acorn, but it has a very simple effect. It's got Parade. So at the beginning of combat, you choose your creatures in an order. Every creature you pick after the first one gets an additional 1/1 bump. So if I have an angel here, it's going to get 0/0. If I pick this one, it gets 1/1. This one gets 2/2, 3/3, 4/4, so on. The hardest part is just tracking the math. If you start having like 1/1 counters with Giada, and then now you've got like Starlight Spectacular with a chroma bumps, all of a sudden you're sitting there like, I think my creatures are getting like +13, +13. And then you get like the final card, True Conviction, and now you've got Double Strike on top of that. Yeah, it's over. Your pod will just pick it up, because usually it's like, okay, the math is so wonky that people will just assume they're dead. But if you can pair this with like a Chroma's Will, or if you get like a Chroma's Memorial with Starlight Spectacular, yeah, super gross card. This is an insane finisher in white that I don't really see people talk about. The only downside is if you have a lot of creatures, it's very hard to track the math. Like if you've got 20 creatures and you've got to each give them a different 1/1 bump, it's been crazy at times where I've wanted to cut it just because it's hard to keep up with, but the amount of damage it pushes for 4 mana is kind of second to none. All right, so moving on to instants and sorceries. I believe I have about 8 instants and 10 sorceries. I've bumped my interaction just slightly. I don't run the most just because I try to keep it very like battle cruisery for my table, just because that's what we like to do. Swords to Plowshares, obvious include. If you watch MTG Goldfish Commander, you might be on the fence with it, but you need swords. I will say I have one time swords my own creature. I was playing an Ishay deck, and it was at like +64, +64. And I was going to die one time, and I swordsed it and gained myself like 65 life. Other than that, though, swords is just like, you have to run swords. A new one I run this year is Brave the Elements. It's either a 1 mana, just protect one of your creatures, or it's 1 mana and your whole army is getting through your opponent's board. It's very flexible in a finisher and a protection spell at the same time. The only downside is it doesn't protect your colored creatures, which is really just Platinum Angel, Steel Seraph, and that's it. So there's not too many downsides to Brave the Elements. Heliod's Intervention is kind of an auto-include at this point. Just being able to just wipe certain amount of artifacts and or enchantments. I found enchantment removal to be kind of needed more this year. I don't know what they've been doing with enchantments, but like every other enchantment, especially in the pre-cons, are like custom built for the deck. Like you have to kill enchantments now. Like there's no... I cannot allow people to just start having doubling seasons, like multiple ghost prisons. Miss Bumbleflower runs the Communal Brewing, which all the creatures come in with like 6/1/1 counters. Communal Brewing in an 8-player pod is also equally as broken because you give everyone a card and then you got 8 counters or 7 counters on it. So sometimes I'll just hold up Heliod's Intervention and just go like X for 7 and just wipe out the whole board before my turn. Soul Partition. This is a card I don't see people talk a lot of, but it's a 2-mana hit any non-land permanent. And it might seem temporary. It gives a 2-mana tax, like a commander tax, to whatever you exile. But if you have that with Aerial Extortionist, or if you do that with Avatar's Wrath, it kind of can synergize a little bit as well. So there's a little bit of like exile synergy between like the Lightstall Inquisitor, the Soul Partition, Aerial Extortionist, Mandate of Peace. This card has saved me so many times. It is so much better than a Fog. The fact that you can just remove every single attack trigger from the stack is like not to be taken lightly. My pod didn't really play around it, so they would just start being like, okay, I'm going to attack, declare these guys, now I get to draw a card, I get to do this, and I'll be like, hold on a second, with all your attack triggers on the stack, Mandate of Peace. They're all gone. Your combat's over. That's it. Total blowout, especially when you get down to like a 1v1 and they're just going to go try and kill you. Yeah, that's not happening. Another one in that regard is Riot Control. It is a little more expensive, 3 mana for a Fog, but you gain a life for each creature your opponents control, and then you Fog. So if you're actually like, for me, I get beat down quite a lot. I'm one of the higher winning percentage players at the table, so it makes sense to take me out early. And this can just bring me from like 5 life all the way back up to like 70. This card has saved me a few times now. Flawless Maneuver is mostly a combo piece just with my other board wipes. But if someone else does board wipe and I have this, they kind of comboed for me, which is nice. Search for Glory. It's one of my few tutors. I usually tutor a lot, but this deck I keep it down a little bit. Mostly I'm looking for either my snow planes, which I run just for this card, or I usually grab Seriema just to go and grab another one and just start like, kind of like Yu-Gi-Oh! You get one card to get another card, then that card will get you another card, and you just keep going essentially. You always want to have plays at this deck. You always want to have cards in your hand. You always want to be like, okay, next turn I have things to do. So I've run a little more Group Huggy. I've run Cut a Deal now and Secret Rendezvous, just for more friendly card draw. Again, I play a lot more into politics this year rather than just like, I'm just going to stomp everyone. This is like, I'm going to give other people cards, or I have certain people at the table that I'm more friendly with than others, and I can be like, all right, I'm going to give you some cards, or I'll be like, hey, if you draw me cards, if I hit Secret Rendezvous, I'll give it back to you. So I have learned Secret Rendezvous is actually a lot stronger than you assume, especially in an 8-player table, man. Like you need someone that's like on your side sometimes. Just, yeah, I won't go deeper into that. Savine's Wreck, it's kind of an auto include. I'm starting to wish it was a little stronger now. Just only getting your 3 mana value or lower is nice, but sometimes you really want to get the bigger stuff, and that's where Anti-Venom actually really is nice. Now for the board wipes, I run 5 for the non-destroys. So I've got Avatar's Wrath. Such a crazy board wipe, man. Like, just being able to exile everything, and then you can replay your stuff, have your whole army of angels ready to go, and now your opponents are locked into their hand. So if you can set this up right, Avatar's Wrath, with either like Aerial Extortionist or like anything else that's starting to exile, I wish I could just tell you how good it is. You have to just see it play out to just really start seeing the synergy come together. Farewell. I honestly, this is my least casted board wipe because a lot of the time I'm the one with the biggest board state and I don't want to get rid of it. So a lot of times, unfortunately, it just kind of sits in my hand or I discard it. The grave, or it's like a 6 mana exile the graveyards, really. But Promise of Loyalty is the next one. This one is one of the best board wipes you can find, honestly. Just everyone's sacking down to 1 creature, and then now that creature can't attack you. Usually everyone leaves their scariest monster. Like, we've got a Korvold player just being able to, like, all right, you're going to sack down to Korvold, put a Vow counter on it, and now I don't have to worry about the 17/17 coming at me. That's someone else's problem. And then the last 2 board wipes, Vanquish the Horde, which usually is just 2 mana, and then Hour of Revelation, which is just 2 mana. Vanquish the Horde wipes the creatures. Revelation wipes all the non-land permanents. So usually, if I have one of these in hand, I will just kind of like sandbag a bit, let my opponents kind of set up everything, wipe the board, and then you just go off. It's really unfun, but if you want to win, or if you want to make it further into the game, for the sake of longer playtime, then yeah, by all means, just start sandbagging, throw in more board wipes, and just kill the table, and then you start doing your thing. But that is the deck this year. I really like how it's playing out so far. I don't feel as guilty playing it. Like the last build, I could go to like an LGS and do very well, and you know, you kind of feel like the king. I have stopped going to my LGSs. I only play 1 day a week now on Sundays, and that's just with this one group. And yeah, no one has really any complaints about the deck, which I'm very happy with. So yeah, let me know what cards you guys have that I don't have. If there's any good inclusions. Remember, I'm in a bigger pod, so if there's anything that works well, let me know, because I'm always looking for ways to improve the deck, make it more efficient. The next build for this deck, I would like to maybe build with some more synergy, because right now it's just built around White Devotion with a small like exile package with some angels, which is very, very generic. But yeah, thank you so much for watching my video, and I'll try to put out some more with my other monocolored decks, because the other decks are equally as awesome. So yeah, thank you very much and have a great day.